Irish Sun Solidarity and Chuck the Brid Smith le the Hull.
Margaret Ceann Corla. Taoiseach, I'm sure like the rest of us you'll remember Phil Hogan, who long before he went to Europe and long before Golfgate was in charge of water services, and at the time, as well as threatening the population that he turned their water down to a trickle if they didn't pay water charges, he also did a deal with the water workers, all 3,200 of them, that they would cooperate with the establishment of Irish Water by working into a service level agreement that was legally binding until the year 2024. And now we find that that service level agreement is being hurried along and chivied along by none other than Irish Water themselves, who want to move these council workers over sooner than 2024. Now, in a recent answer to a question from Deputy Boyd Barrett behind me here, the Minister said that he's asking the WRC to facilitate negotiations in the move to Irish Water. But I think we have to be clear in this House that the workers in Irish Water who did cooperate with the establishment of Irish Water, but indeed didn't cooperate with the attempt to push meters on the population, will not be bullied or coerced into getting rid of their service level agreement. They see themselves as public sector workers with stable employment, and that is the way many of them want to remain. By 98%, the SIP2 employees have voted to go on strike if there's any attempt to get rid of their SLA before 2024. But I think the issue here for us this morning, Taoiseach, is for you to answer this. Can we have a commitment in this House that the promised referendum on the guarantee in the Constitution that water will remain in public ownership will be conducted? In 2017, the committee set up in this House to get over a row between yourselves and Fine Gael at the time, recommended that that referendum go ahead, and indeed Deputy Joan Collins put forward a bill which was signed by practically all the opposition at the time to have that referendum, and you've sat on it, and now you're prepared to go to war with the workers in trying to push them into this utility. Now, you may be making a commitment in the programme for government that this Irish Water will remain as a public service, but we have all seen the road that single utilities go down. The same happened with Team Aer Lingus and with other utilities in this country, and the workers are not guaranteed that they will remain public sector workers in a publicly controlled utility. And I think we need to give them that guarantee, and the best way of doing it is for this government to commit to having a referendum, as was fought for by the tens of thousands of people up and down the length and the breadth of this country who resisted water charges, who dragged yourselves and Fine Gael into changing your position on water charges because you were afraid of the movement from below, and the people who stood with the workers to say we will not allow our water services be privatised. We need that referendum, and we need an answer from you and government when we can have it.
First of all, I want to thank the Deputy for raising the issue, to say at the first instance that it's not the government's intention to go to war with anybody. And I would acknowledge that the workers have been critical in relation to the development of water services, and that through their dedication and commitment they've developed water services on which so many of us rely on today. And there are quite a significant number of stakeholders involved in the delivery of water, principally the workers themselves, the local government sector, ICTU, relevant trade unions, Forsa, SIP2, Connect and Unite, and of course Irish Water, the parent company, and so forth. And there will be ongoing consultations in relation to the evolution of the service and how it develops into the future. But the programme for government provides that Irish Water will be retained in public ownership as a national standalone regulated utility. And consistent with that commitment, the Minister of Housing did bring forward a policy paper setting out the government's approach in relation to the next phase of the transformation for the water sector. But again, any movement forward has to be in consultation with all involved, so that's critical. You referenced the Workplace Relations Commission to have that engaged in terms of in terms of discussions around a framework for the future delivery of water services. That's something that will have to be entered into by agreement and engagement and consultation. And so government is determined that the views and concerns of key stakeholders have to be considered and addressed within that particular process. And I've outlined who the key stakeholders are. But the public ownership issue is critical to the programme for government, and it's something that we were insisting on, and it's something that all three parties are committed to doing. On the issue of the referendum on ownership, and we did say in the programme for government that we will refer the issue of the environment, including water, and its place in the Constitution to a relevant joint Oireachtas committee for consideration. And that's something that we will work with the Oireachtas on in terms of how that commitment can be brought forward. And there had been some consideration as to the exploration of the protection of water within the Constitution and how one would progress that more fully in the context of a broader appraisal of the constitutional protection that would apply to the physical environment more generally.
Just to respond to you, Taoiseach, on a number of issues. I understand that you've made a statement in the programme of government of guaranteeing that water remain as a public utility, but in fact there's a creeping privatisation that's taken place by the outsourcing of functions in terms of programmes. Irish Water declare we're going to do a programme of replacing the lead pipes. They outsource it. They declare they're going to do a programme in pushing up the pressure in some area or another. They outsource it. And the workers who work for the councils are the key people. And I know a lot of them, personally know a lot of them, they're friends. And they understand the water system, they know where the problems are, they know where the solutions are. They know it almost like you know the streets on your road, they know what happens under the ground just as well. And the problem here is that they don't believe you, and that pushing forward now by trying to get them to give up their service level agreement and go into Irish Water by the end of this year, that's what's been stated in the white paper, is an attempt to coerce them. They have a legal guarantee over their status under that service level agreement until 2024. So I'm saying the Minister and you should back off and stop trying to push the workers into this position. Otherwise, you're going to face massive opposition.
Taoiseach.
Well, first of all, there will be no coercion. There cannot be coercion. And I don't think that should be asserted. There simply cannot be coercion. And the Water Services No. 2 Act 2013 provides that local authority staff who are subject to a service level agreement with Irish Water would transfer to Irish Water should the agreement end. The existing terms and conditions of these staff are protected under the Act in such circumstances. And in outlining its expectations in relation to the next phase of transformation, the government fully respects these terms and conditions, which can only be changed by collective agreement. And that is the factual position. And that is why it is, given the complexity, the scale of what's involved here, that it's deemed important that the engagement would take place at the Workplace Relations Commission to identify and agree a framework for the future delivery of water services. And in some respects, this can be progression and advance as well for workers once their core rights are protected. And that is a key point. And there have been in the past agreements of such a kind where those rights were protected as different utilities were developed and